He comes from a publishing background but has worked mostly in the Community Legal Centre since 1998. Steve has a particular interest in the delivery of online legal information and the community legal sector's use of social media. Thank you, Steve.
Thanks, Marion. Thank you very much for inviting me. I thought that I would focus on 3 projects in particular, which I hope in their variety illustrate and answer, I guess, some of the challenges that Mary put out. So, predominantly what's working across the RRR sector for audiences, the RRR audience, what are the kind of constraints that organisations like ourselves need to work with.
Audio's been muted, I'm sorry. Sorry, online people, we didn't realise that the audio was muted. We're listening to Steve Womersley.
Okay, thanks, Mary. And also, of course, what would I like to see across this sphere? And being a bit cheeky, if we're right, also throwing in what I thought were some of the opportunities that we're currently faced with changing technology. So, to begin with, as Mary said, I manage the CLEAR database, so the Community Legal Education and Reform database. You can see it up there on the right-hand side. It's started by the National Association of CLCs, and the idea behind CLEAR was that there were isolated community legal education workers across Australia in various community legal centres. There's around about 200 CLCs across the country. And quite often they were working on or delivering community legal education projects in isolation of each other. So there was obviously at times duplication of effort and work and approach. There was an inability for the sector, I guess, to leverage one from the other in terms of expertise. And there was a lot of good work being done. So part of the idea of CLEAR was that it would also enable the sector more broadly to showcase the kind of work that it did. So with Attorney General's Department's funding, we launched CLEAR in late 2012, developed by Helen Thompson's team across at CCC, which was a fantastic partnership for us and continues to work very well. And what it seeks to do is to gather community legal education and law reform projects. And if you look on the top right-hand side, you can see that it enables people to search for the projects that are on the database, of which there's currently around about 350, according to 4 key areas. So they can search by project type, area of law, the audience that the project was delivered for, and the method of delivery. So method of delivery could be anything from a workshop or a PowerPoint presentation through to video or social media or campaigns and the like. So I'd encourage you, if you haven't already had a look at it, to go back and after this session have a look CLEAR. But 3 of the projects that I'm I guess more interested in showcasing and talking to you about today are 3 of the projects that you'll actually also find on CLEAR. So projects developed by community legal centres.
Another technical glitch.
One we've already touched on before, which is strong will, and I'll get to that in a moment. But this project here, AskLaw, this is produced by Women's Legal Services of New South Wales. And I must acknowledge Alex Davis from the University of New South Wales, from Women's Legal Services of New South Wales, who allowed me to pick her brains about how AskLaw works for them. And she was keen to let people know that she's a Deakin Uni alumni, so she's very pleased to participate. AskLaw is a secure website, so it provides free legal online information for community workers in New South Wales who are rural or regional based and responding to women with legal needs. So it provides community workers with free online training and advice on legal issues such as domestic violence, apprehended violence orders, or intervention orders as we may know them here, family law matters, child protection matters, victim support and much more. It offers fortnightly webinars, comprehensive resource library, case studies, video conferencing appointments, forums, and New South Wales Domestic Violence Service Directory. So it's a pretty comprehensive portal, if you think of it in that sense. And would seem to be very well used. I'll move on just quickly, and I might come back to some of the lessons from each of these in a moment. Strong will, as I said, we've already touched on, developed by Hugh Riverina Legal Service, again with support from CCC. An interactive website, so it uses gaming technology, so a completely different approach, and what it seeks to do is to encourage people to work through a series of questions that enable them to draft a will. So currently it only applies to Victoria. There's, as I understand it from talking with Helen McGowan, there's, and as we saw before, obviously there's a hope that it might be expanded beyond Victoria. So I think Helen, the crew up there are seeking a partnership that will enable that to happen. At the moment, I think, according to Helen, it gets around about 20 to 50 monthly visitors, although at times that number can increase to around about 160. And it's had, since it was launched, I think 7,400 page views, and 28% of the people that visit the site are return visitors. So, as Helen said, it's part of its role and purpose is to assist people to have a crack at making a will for themselves, a bit like baking a test like with bread, as Helen put it to me when I was talking to her on Friday. The third project, again from a legal service, a women's legal service, sorry about this one, from Tasmania, so the women's legal service in Tasmania. This is called Girls Gotta Know, which is kind of an interesting hybrid, I guess, for want of a better word, between a website and a mobile app. It takes legal knowledge and delivers it in a simple, easy to understand and up-to-date format for young women in Tasmania. Earlier this year it won an Australian Centre for Leadership for Women award, and it has some pretty good site stats. It's, I think the website itself has had 3,200 plus sessions with 9,800 page views, and the app, interestingly, has had around about the same number of sessions but 3 times as many page views. So it shows, to me at least, that in terms of a delivery platform, its purpose has been quite well anticipated. If you're getting 3 times the number of people checking out that information on the app versus checking it out on a PC or a desktop computer. They promote the site quite actively via social media, and their expectation is that a little later this year it will go national. So to prove its worth, it's going beyond Tasmania, and I think that's fantastic. The 3 key questions that we're asked to look at, I guess, today were what digital education methods to work in Melbourne RRR people, what are the main constraints, technical or otherwise, and what we would like to see. And I think I'll just tackle each of these in relation to these projects. I think AskLaw, when I was talking to Alex Davis at the University of New South Wales Women's Legal Service, suggests that projects that involve partnerships with existing RRR community organisations would utilise their local knowledge and expertise and listen to their needs are successful projects. They found that they needed to upskill some RRR community workers in relation to technology and to break down some of those barriers. So they did find, in the course of rolling this out and developing, that there was some digital resistance. But they found that through that process they'd increased the engagement, so that's worked for them. I think Girls Gotta Know. Girls Gotta Know suggests that projects that deliver information and content in accessible and targeted language are also effective. So this was deliberately designed for young women in Tasmania. They're very conscious of the language that they use and the way in which they shape their content, and that's been key to their success. And I think Strongwell, a different example again, I think its success, it suggests that by providing a tangible output, in this case a will or a draft will, is a goer in terms of an online project. People like to be able to get something at the end of the process, and using gaming technology to deliver that it's obviously worked very well for human refereeing and legal service. Having said all that, though, of course, there are constraints that we all need to deal with, and sometimes they're technical and sometimes they're not. As I note, some of the comments online have been coming through, poor internet connections is a standard thing. We all need to deal with that. We occasionally, of course, we need to deal with what I refer to as digital threshold guardians within organisations, so people who are perhaps not comfortable or are afraid with digital opportunities and technology, and who in effect block acts or attempts from within the organisation to move in those directions. Sometimes there's jurisdictional limitations or issues, so obviously strong will is needing or wanting to move into a national space, and unfortunately Girls Go Go is about to do that, but obviously they require ramping up and taking pilot projects effectively to another level, and of course that's often demanding, time consuming, and the results can be uneven. Sometimes, and I thought this was an interesting comment from Helen McGowan when I was speaking to her on Friday, that sometimes there's hesitation from in the legal profession or from funding bodies in relation to technology devolving power from lawyers to technology itself, so technology becoming disruptive. I think there's also, obviously, if you're working in a III context, there's still comparatively low social media take-up, although having said that now, and listening to Tom earlier, I'm starting to wonder. But my experience, at least working with community organisations in Bendigo, is that it's been a slow crawl. We were the first to come on board with Twitter, and it was, I think, taken several years for some of the other key agencies in Bendigo, kind of community agencies, to come up with Twitter and Facebook as well. Obviously, also, one of the other constraints that we, I guess more broadly as a sector, need to deal with is the area of concentration of IT expertise and opportunity. So there's less likelihood that people living in a rural context are going to develop, ground relationships and connections with others doing similar sort of work, and the opportunities for work in this area, in country areas, is probably limited. What would I most like to see? Obviously, as I said before, obviously comprehensive 3G and NBN coverage. If I had a personal thing, I'd really love to see it would be Wi-Fi on rural train services, so that I could actually use that time, which often quite a bit. I gather it's can't come fast enough for me. I find it very frustrating, of course, that either with a mobile phone or a smartphone, I can't often work consistently between Melbourne and Bendigo, or even Bendigo and Castlemaine where I live. In terms of the CLC sector, and so I guess this won't apply to everybody, but in terms of something that I would like to see is that a recognition more broadly that RRR CLCs need to embrace new technologies and provide support to the CLCs who are wishing to do that. A part of that, and I guess running parallel to that, is also a recognition that community legal sector or community legal centres need to consider communications as a core part of their work. I think in the past it's been a bit of an added extra, but I'm pleased to see that there's more and more communications workers being employed by community legal sectors, and community legal sectors seeing that as really a core function of the work that they perform, as well as law reform and the delivery of direct legal services. As I said too, I'd just like to touch on some of the opportunities, and there are some great opportunities, and I think we all know them, but it's not wasted that we destroy attention to them. I think increasingly we're going to see video conferencing, and today, of course, is a perfect example of that, and live streaming via the NBN. Again, I think we're also going to see increasing growth and use, particularly I hope in community legal sectors around community legal education, the growth and the use of online learning platforms, so platforms like Skillshare and Udemy, Link, like we're using today, etc. I think all hold a huge amount of potential. I think also, and I touched on this I think a couple of weeks ago for a couple of people who may have seen me speak at a similar function, but around video production, I think the increasing kind of democratisation of video and the diminishing costs involved in video production is really exciting. And allow for sectors like the community legal sector to be quick, adaptive, on the job, and producing video and getting it out there and using video in a way, in a range of different ways that are interesting and engaging for the audiences that we work with. Obviously, with the growth of digital natives, smartphone ubiquity, the growth of the mobile web, and increasing social media saturation, I think that they're all factors that will work to our advantage, despite the limitations currently of the patchiness of the NBN rollout. I think also that there's a great opportunity. You'll notice probably that there's an increasing number of job advertisements for online community managers, and I think there's a great opportunity for the non-profit sector, of which we're a part, to contribute to that in the sense that we can help inform those kinds of roles through some of the community development principles that we tend to work with currently on a kind of analogue basis, but which apply very well to that world as well. And I think just lastly, the opportunities around crowdsourcing and fundraising and digital wallets, diversifying the community sector's funding base, and then in turn driving other online engagement. I think that's a really interesting place that we're at the moment, and has the potential, I would hope, to drive some pretty interesting projects. I go for time.
Note, Mary, if somebody's scheduled to come in at noon to do the next presentation.
We have Rosie Rowe, who's presenting by Lee, is coming, but I think we have time for questions.
Okay.
We will have some.
Steve, who's NACLAC Bruce?
I'll go back. I know you know.
Yes, I do.
This is a Dorothy Dixon. NACLAC Bruce. NACLAC is the National Association of Community Legal Centres, and Bruce is the CLEAR database's fictitious administrator. So when we were first looking at developing CLEAR, we called it for ages in its kind of planning stages the CLE database, which is an incredibly kind of boring name. And we were hoping to find some way to promote it and give it some life. And somebody during one of our reference group meetings suggested that we just call it Project Clear, call it Bruce. And it was an off-the-cuff comment that made me go away and think, well, we shouldn't actually call the website Bruce. That won't make any sense at all. But maybe what we can do is create this fictitious administrator, and through Bruce, we can promote the site more broadly through social media. So Bruce is my little... probably can't quite see it, but up there's a little headshot of Bruce, who's my kind of Twitter alter ego. So whenever there's a new project uploaded to Clear, Bruce gets onto Twitter and starts tweeting about it.
I think, to me, it's been one of the really limited use of social media. And Bruce sometimes gets into trouble with law, and he has to find resources to help him out as well.
Yeah, there's a bit of that. Yeah, Bruce has a particular kind of character. You would like to think he's particularly cool, but really he's just a little dag and stuff like that.
It's a reflection.
I-
Not your own ego.
It might be a good place.
I don't know whether we had a question from some sheep up the back via Tom, but Sally, yeah.
Steve, would you know whether or not there is a register of like digital education platforms that are available to rural and regional people? So, like there's just so much sort of going on in the space. I was just wondering, do you know if it's collated anywhere?
No, I don't at all. That's what I did when I was looking around a couple of months ago, and came up with all sorts of opportunities. I'm sorry, but I don't know what the specific register.
Sorry, could you repeat the question?
Well, the question was whether there was a register of online learning platforms that people might be able to refer to, and my answer was really just that I don't know of any such register, that I'm assuming that if you put in some keywords into Google, you pull up a range of likely candidates like Udemy and Skillshare, etc.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah. For the doubt, Richard.
Well, if it's, I suppose it's sort of part of an observation, or it's a question too, but it seems to me like community legal centres, perhaps more than a lot of other organisations, have the opportunity to actually use social media in particular in policy law reform issues, and which I haven't seen that much of, I suppose, and not only community legal centres, but government in terms of inquiries and so forth. I mean, it's still Productivity Commission, a 900-page report offering opportunities for people to respond, but it's overwhelming. The range of things for anyone in the public to effectively make a response to, but it's possibly something that could be changed and managed in a way that was perhaps more serious and interesting in public comment, public feedback. I mean, the medium is there, and I guess the medium is there for community legal centres to take on perhaps more of a role in terms of using social media as a policy law tool.
Yeah, well, there's some great examples out there. I mean, the one that jumps to mind immediately for me would be the Asylum Seeker Resource Centre. Uses a range of social media channels to engage with the community more broadly about the issue of asylum seekers and refugees and Australia's reaction to that. And so everything from YouTube, where they had a road movie, the one that got a sequence of videos where they took the issue in a caravan around regional Australia, hot potato caravans that would stop at country towns and served hot potatoes, and had conversations with people in the street around the issue, but of course that was all filmed and was captured for later digestion on YouTube. Their followers on Facebook, I forget what the number is, but I can only dream of those kind of numbers. A lot of them has facility. And Twitter, of course, they're vociferous, and it works.
I think we might finish up there. You, Steve? Yeah.
Thanks very much, Steve. Our next speaker is coming in through Link. She just needs to take over as the presenter.